What has happened, everybody? James Hancock here. I'm back to review episode 2 of The Idol, an episode called Double Fantasy. The story was by The Weeknd and Sam Levinson, but the screenplay is by Sam Levinson, and it was directed by Sam Levinson. And I had kind of a strange emotional journey as I was watching this episode because I still remain very much in like kind of wait and see mode on whether or not this show is going to deliver upon all of its promise or all of its hype and that sort of thing. And as I was watching it, I was like, is this just sleazy fuel for aging men and all their lurid fantasies, or is there something more here? Like, I'm not complaining. This is an intensely erotic show with all sorts of wildly provocative imagery, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, during the summer blockbuster season where all we get is family-friendly kind of popcorn movies, it's fantastic to have a show like The Idol in our lives every Sunday night, reminding us that in our media diet, we do need a little sex, a little fantasy. But a strange thing happened that toward the end of the episode, suddenly I started getting like emotionally absorbed by what I was watching, and I started getting chills, and I started actually being moved by the experience of watching all these kind of lost souls who are in the thrall of Tedros, I think it's his full name, but anyway, The Weeknd. But all of his kind of groupies and all of his followers coming together and singing a song. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, amidst all this kind of dark, manipulative kind of all these head games that he's playing, underneath all that, there's still something kind of magical happening where you can tell they have a strange kind of family unit, and it's all about creating great music and partying your face off and doing cocaine and having sex and that sort of thing. But I was actually caught off guard that this show has that kind of emotional depth or emotional resonance. And there are plenty of people out there who've already made up their minds and they've just written off this show entirely as just pure trash. And who knows, maybe they're right. Maybe it is pure trash. However, I like a little trash in my media diet. I think it's important. It's not the job of every show and movie out there to be good for us or good for our minds or good for society. Sometimes you just want to log on and watch a little porn, but I think there's more going on here than just pure, simple pornography. So let's start getting into the details of what I thought really worked this episode and what worked a little less so. And so far I've seen absolutely no numbers in terms of the total viewership for this, which makes me think that the viewership has not been good. Usually if a show makes a big splash, HBO is the first to advertise that a show is taking off like a rocket, like The Last of Us or something like that. But who knows? Maybe the audience will grow over time once they hear about all the weird, kinky shit that's going down on this show. Like for me, the moment we get that warning label at the beginning when it's like, you know, you're about to see horrific sex and violence and blah, 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 and viewer discretion is advised. For me, that's just like catnip. Like, all right, it's on. Like, no matter what you show me, I'm curious. But we live in an era where everything's getting censored or labeled or whatever. And it just feels like this show is a very deliberate kind of fuck you to everybody that kind of wags their finger in disapproval at this kind of entertainment. Like the world is full of censors and buzzkills and wet blankets who are absolutely terrified that somewhere somebody might be having a good time in a form that they disapprove of. And so, yeah, I guess I'm just admitting once again my personal bias that I really want to like this show, but slowly but surely, if we keep getting more scenes like the final scene of this episode, I won't even have to talk myself into liking the show. It'll happen all on its own. So for the first half of this episode, Jocelyn, she's got a little bit of an uphill battle. She is so excited to play her new version or her remix of World Class Center, and she gets her team together and she starts playing it, and she's dancing in this really alluring way, and goddamn, Lily Rose Depp, she's doing an excellent job with the character of Jocelyn. And what intensified the scene and made it even more sexy is right as the vocals kicked in, they cut to the title of the show, and we see a flashback to the previous evening where she's being basically choked wearing that red dress over her head as The Weeknd is kind of choking her from behind and like whispering encouraging words. And I was like, God damn, this is some naughty entertainment. But the character Nikki, she completely, totally freaks out, starts talking all kinds of shit. And in her mind, she's giving a little tough love to Jocelyn. But she just lays it all out there about how Jocelyn spent a year talking to imaginary creatures and all this nonsense, and they've been wasting all this money on her, and they had to cancel a tour or cancel an appearance at Madison Square Garden at the last minute. And at this point, Nikki just wants her to be grateful. But there's a great little comedic beat as Jocelyn storms off and is telling everybody to fuck off for being cowards. Hank Azaria's character, Chaim, I'm not quite sure how his name's pronounced, but he just says, who wouldn't be grateful being talked to like that? Like, I'm not a big fan of Azaria's accent in this, but he does bring the comedy pretty much every time he talks. But what I like about how this show is portraying the character of Jocelyn, it shows how she's a hands-on producer or a hands-on creator of her music. Like when she goes into the post-production suite or the editing suite or the mixing suite, I don't know my music industry terminology at all, but when she goes to the computer, she doesn't have an army of technicians kind of pushing buttons for her. She's in there doing the heavy lifting herself. And of course, in order to get back into the headspace where she was the previous evening, she starts masturbating with a cocktail glass full of ice. She starts choking herself. Obviously, like, there's an overlap in the Venn diagram between kind of forbidden sexuality and the music that she's trying to create, because more than ever now, she really wants to try to create music that'll last longer than her own life. She really wants to make music that matters. She doesn't want to just do kind of cheesy commercial fluff. And she's not alone in terms of being one of those creators that needs to get into kind of a dangerous headspace in order to feel creative. Very famously, the screenwriter for Taxi Driver, Paul Schrader, at least according to legend, while he was ripping lines and writing that amazing screenplay, he would hold an empty gun to his head and just click, 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 and just pull the trigger. And somehow, like, doing that over and over again got him like in the perfect headspace to create that classic tale. But what was interesting is watching how Tedros is starting to play little mind games with Jocelyn, trying to get into her head, trying to manipulate her emotionally and that sort of thing. Like, she asks him to come over, and he says, "Oh, well, I'm going to be busy for a couple days," blah, blah, blah. But he does give her some words of encouragement, saying you need a new team that believes in your vision, etc., and so forth. But as far as criticisms for this show overall are concerned, I still remain kind of unconvinced that The Weeknd has the experience as an actor to pull off this role. And I admire him for producing this show and coming up with the vision and working on the screenplays with Sam Levinson and that sort of thing. And who knows, maybe over time he'll become a brilliant fucking actor, but I just feel like at this point he hasn't quite shown me that he has the dramatic chops to be the co-star of a giant HBO show. But who knows, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe by the end of the season I'll be saying that The Weeknd's like the coolest young actor out there. But the most traumatic part of this episode is when Jocelyn tries to shoot a music video for World Class Center, and it all just completely, totally falls to pieces. And I imagine that there are a lot of young girls out there who are going to watch this episode and be like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be a pop star. That looks like pure unbridled hell. Because first and foremost, she's a couple hours late to the shoot because she has all these cuts on her inner thighs that they're having to cover up with makeup. I don't quite know what she's doing to herself, whether or not like those wounds were accumulated like in the heat of passion, or if she's someone who's a cutter that likes to, let off a little steam by cutting their arms. Like, once again, very disturbing behavior, but it would not be unique to Jocelyn. But the whole shoot goes horribly wrong. She's got this director that she's battling with. Like, the director's trying to stay on schedule. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for the performers and the crew and the set, etc., and so forth. But Jocelyn really wants to get it right. And at the same time, she's having second thoughts creatively about just the whole attitude of the shoot. And in terms of the overall vision for the music video, it takes place in a strip club, and all the dancers are wearing ties and blazers and nothing else. But some of them are out dancing her, and there's a big debate behind the scenes, like, are the dancers out femming her, or is it too gay, etc., and so forth. And Diane, she's dancing so well that Nikki just says, "Look, can you sing? Like, I want you to lay down a track right now." Like Nikki just grabs her and pulls her out of the shoot, even though Diane's the best performer in the bunch. And quick side note about Diane, we learned later in the episode, she's one of the minions or one of the followers of Tedros, and I'm still not quite sure if he's got like a cult or if he's just like a proper like manager who likes to have kind of domineering control over his clients. But it was her idea to bring Jocelyn to the club where Tedros started to try to, work his magic on Jocelyn while she's in a vulnerable state. But long story short, everything that can go wrong with this shoot does go wrong, apart from the fact that Lily Rose Depp's, her buns are looking absolutely fantastic, but her feet start to bleed, the wounds on her inner thighs start to bleed, she's constantly kind of sobbing and crying. At one point, she has a little mental break, starts calling out to her mom who's not there. I mean, her mom's been dead for like the better part of a year. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, we see that a lot of Jocelyn's people are starting to do background checks on Tedros. As Destiny expertly puts it, he is sketchy as fuck. And I'm inclined to agree. However, he might be sketchy as fuck and he might have horrible intentions, but I have a feeling at some point Jocelyn's going to create some new hit singles that she's very proud of as a result of his influence. So it seems like there's going to be a constant kind of chess match, or how he's kind of both the angel and the devil on her shoulder, pulling her in both directions. But to be fair, when it comes to this shoot, it's not just Jocelyn that's causing problems. At one point, they get the perfect take where everybody just absolutely hits their marks and really delivers, but it was out of focus and nothing came through on the monitor. So it's like the cast and crew, everybody deserves a decent share of the blame. But Nikki sends home Jocelyn, and shortly thereafter, she decides to scrap the video altogether. And you can tell she's starting to second guess her support of Jocelyn and wondering whether or not she wants to do this tour. And Chaim, or whatever the hell his name is, he gives Jocelyn a little tough love as well. He says, basically, look, I'm happy to pay half your mortgage. However, I'm investing in your career, and you need to make pop music. You need to make commercial music. You need to bring in the money. Like, you're one of the greatest performers of all time, but you need to step up and deliver. And while all this is going down, we get a really weird kind of side plot or side scene, which I'm still trying to make heads or tails of, but we see how Tedros is either doing like his own music video shoot or porn shoot or a mix of the two. Like, I'm not quite sure what they're shooting. They're shooting something, and you have all these hot girls lying on the ground in their underwear and so on and so forth. But the character, Isaac, he's like posing and doing these squats over him while he's being electrocuted. And once again, I don't know, maybe it's a photo shoot. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but Tedros is electrocuting his talent in order to get the artistic results that he's looking for. It shows that there are no ends to which he will not go in order to get the creative results he wants, or to manipulate those who are in his thrall. So yeah, he's a weird fucking dude, but everybody following him seems to really believe in him, as we see at this party, which for me becomes the best part of the episode. So later on that night, as Jocelyn and Leia are just having a quiet evening at home, Jocelyn invites Tedros over, and he comes over with a couple of his groupies, including Isaac, as well as a singer named Chloe. And it's this kind of sequence which makes me like Sam Levinson's work, because in an era where everything is kind of vanilla or tastes like cardboard or never takes any creative risks whatsoever, or just is got a total, complete and total allergy to the idea of sexuality, nudity, or whatever, Sam Levinson is here to deliver some really hot, provocative, erotic stuff. And the party gets started immediately. Chloe shows up. She's thrilled to hear that there are two pools there. Clothes come off. Into the pool she goes. And suddenly she's rocking out on the piano in the nude and just jamming. I was like, whoa, you're not just some starry-eyed groupie. Like, you're a legit musician. And that's what becomes clear over the course of this party. Like, they all like to screw. They all like to do drugs. They all like to drink hard. But they also love their music, and they obviously love and believe in Tedros. And we get a few insights into Tedros' character when Leia takes Isaac back to her bedroom. And obviously Isaac is ready to get it on. He is in the mood. He's got the itch. But Leia has a few questions. And slowly but surely, she's able to tease a little information out of him. But basically, Tedros regards himself as a very godly person, a very religious person, and it seems like his musicians really respond to that. But he says that Tedros totally transformed him and that he signed him. And he mentions how he's got like a management company and a few other things. But once again, Leia is just very suspicious and skeptical. However, she's still happy to go along for the ride and raise some hell. And later on, from a distance, we see a shot where she's having sex with him doggy style. It's like, all right, good for you, Rachel Sennett. You're having fun making this show The Idol. But the strangest scene in this episode is one that I still haven't quite figured out, but I guess I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But we have Tedros and Jocelyn back in her room, and she's blindfolded, and he's asking her to do all these things, and he's talking dirty to her, and he's talking about he's going to stretch out her tight pussy and all this stuff. Like, pardon my language, but if you're going to talk about a show like The Idol, you have to be able to speak in a frank, unfiltered, candid fashion. But anyway, all the dirty talk you can possibly imagine. But Chloe is off in the dressing room playing dress up, and she keeps coming in and kind of like watching what's going on. And once again, I don't know if Tedros like wanted her there in order to kind of be inspired or whatever the case might be, or if Tedros is just turned on by having an audience. But I'll go back and I'll go over the scene with a fine-tooth comb and do my kind of armchair psychoanalysis of what's going on there. At a minimum, Lily Rose Depp, she is a fearless performer. I feel like to be nude and sexy on camera, like, on an HBO show where millions of people potentially going to see you, she is just absolutely holding nothing back. And something tells me there'll be a lot of other lusty men like myself out there who are watching that scene on repeat in the days and weeks to come. But then, like I said before, that episode totally pivoted or changed into this new terrain where suddenly I found myself emotionally absorbed by the experience, which really surprised me. I was expecting to be stimulated by this show, all 6 episodes. I was never expected to kind of get emotionally engaged. But as they're lying in bed, Jocelyn hears Chloe rocking on the piano, and she can sing her fucking ass off. She's down there just wailing, going nuts. And everybody slowly starts joining, and suddenly Isaac comes in, and Isaac starts singing a duet with her. I'm starting to get goosebumps even remembering it. I was like, wow, like this music's really beautiful. And then we see Jocelyn joining in, and you just it's almost like you're watching like a hit song come together. And this is after Jocelyn's already told Tedros that if he wants to like move in with her and cut a few songs or record a few songs, that she's into it, he's into it. And so I have a feeling that next episode they're going to crank out a few tunes that are going to be hits. Like, I don't think the show is going to be entirely about head games and emotional abuse and manipulation. I have a feeling there's going to be some partying to kind of break up the monotony of all the emotional traumas coming our way. But as we saw in the teaser for the next episode, Leia's the first one to call bullshit on Tedros and recognizing that he's basically like taking over, brainwashing her, so on and so forth. So I'm looking forward to the big kind of corporate battle between Tedros and all of Jocelyn's people. And I thought it was interesting wrapping up the episode with the song Love to Love You Baby by Donna Summer, because it was in the previous episode where Tedros told Jocelyn that when you listen to that song, you believe that Donna Summer knows how to fuck when she's... I mean, the whole song is just heavy breathing and like sexual sounds, and it's a lovely song. Like, I watched it on YouTube after seeing that episode, and one of the best YouTube comments was, I can't believe like they played the song in grocery stores and people think that it's just like a fun pop tune, because it's an incredibly sexual song. And it's interesting hearing from Tedros' character which songs he really responds to. I feel like we're getting a sense of what music has influenced and inspired The Weeknd over his career, whether that's Prince, When Doves Cry, or Love to Love You Baby. But I hope he'll continue to give us cool little needle drops throughout the season, just so we get an idea of like what songs from the 70s and 80s really had a massive influence on him. But let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. I read some comments in my review from last week, and it seems like some people are into it. But it just seems like, for whatever reason, like the wolves are out to devour and kill and destroy this show. I don't know why, but people are very threatened by it and very shocked by it. And I just want to say, if what you want is bland, asexual content, well, the world is full of it. Like, the battle's been won. Like, if you go to the movies or if you turn on your TV, chances are like 99% of the shows that you will encounter, or 99% of the movies you will encounter, are pretty risk-averse, pretty safe, very family-friendly. Like, let the perverts out there have their one kinky, lusty show, and stop trying to cock-block America, as they said in the first episode. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, please consider hitting that notification bell to be notified about future content, or hunt me down on Twitter @Colbrax. But I hope everybody has a great week. But more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.